One house in my area was said to be haunted when I was a kid. The former residents of the house all passed away as they slept, and the autopsy revealed they had consumed some kind of poison. Word grew, months after their deaths, that their enraged and vengeful ghosts were haunting the house. Due to these reports, the next of kin who was meant to take possession of the house left it unoccupied, leaving everyone terrified. I can still clearly recall that when I chose to do something exciting and daring with my buddies when I was 9 years old. The idea was to enter the haunted house and determine whether or not it was truly haunted. We chose to break in at night when no one would notice us because the house was kind of off limits during the day. My friends and I gathered outside the house at around 8 in the evening, but we were too afraid to enter, so we decided to return the following day. Only 4 of the 6 children came up the following day. We entered the haunted house without the other 2 children because they said they were too afraid to walk inside. All 4 of us went into that haunted house anticipating something eerie or unsettling to happen right away, but nothing of the sort occurred. We were a little let down since, as we frequently seen in the movies, we were really hoping for something to happen right away. However, we decided it was time to depart after visiting every room and touring the house for about 10 minutes. As we prepared to depart, Ted, one of us, proposed that we announce the names of those who had passed away within the house. Claiming to have watched paranormal programming, he said that calling a spirit or other creature by name was the way to communicate with it. Without even considering the repercussions of what we were about to undertake, Ted, the other 2 children, and I started yelling the family members' names. We even included phrases like, "Please show yourself to us if you are here." We recognized the 2 other children who passed away since the entire neighborhood knew the family. We commenced repeatedly calling out their names as though we were anticipating a reply. Before our torchlight started to flicker, it was entertaining at first. Every door we witnessed shut by itself. Abruptly, the room in which we were standing felt extremely chilly, as though we were in a frigid room. We all had chills since it was so obvious that the temperature had changed. And if that wasn't enough, we heard what sounded like kids laughing and running all over the house. We became aware that we might not have done what we should have at that very moment. We knew we should leave right now, without anyone having to tell us. We bolted from that house as quickly as we could without a word to each other, and we haven't been near it or set foot on the land since. We were silent and shook for weeks after the horrific incident. I never tried investigating a supposed haunted house again after that. I don't know what would have happened to my friends and I if we had tried to act wise and stay when those strange things started happening, but I'm glad we didn't. Prior to having an amazing experience last year, I was one of those people who doesn't believe in ghosts, haunted houses, or other paranormal phenomena that people claim to have experienced. I'll give you a little background before I talk about what I experienced. After my parents got divorced when I was 13, they moved into different homes. My sister and I developed a great deal of animosity toward our mother when she moved out since our dad had told us multiple lies about her. I recently turned 24 years old, and for years my mom and I did not get along because of those lies. Our dad had been lying to us to keep us away from our mom, and somehow my sister found out. As a result, we seized the chance to put things right. I made the decision to spend Christmas Eve and night at my mother's house with my elder sister last December in an effort to strengthen our relationship. It was my first time staying at my mother's house to sleep. I kind of went to bed early that evening after dinner. After the lengthy travel, I was really worn out. Though I don't really recall going to sleep, I do recall waking up at roughly 2 a.m. with an unexplainable strange feeling. I felt pressure all over my body, including my chest, when I woke up and attempted to get out of bed. It was then that I became aware of my inability to move my body from my head to my toes. My eyes were open and I could still see the room, even though I was totally paralyzed. I was fighting to get out of bed when I noticed something out of the corner of my eye. A very tall, dark figure that looked almost giant-like was standing at my door and was just staring at me. You have no idea how vulnerable and terrified I felt at the same time. The most hopeless thing was realizing I couldn't talk or yell when I tried to cry out for my mother and sister. Everything that escaped my lips sounded more like muffled noise. My voice had a harder time getting heard the harder I tried to yell. The pressure I was feeling on my body and chest abruptly vanished after I struggled for some minutes. I turned to look at the door, and the tall, dark figure was gone. I was so afraid, for a 24-year-old guy, that I spent the rest of the morning sleeping in my sister's room. Until I told my mother about my encounter later that morning, she was unaware of what had occurred. My mother seemed unsurprised when I told her. She even acknowledged that the same thing had been happening to her since the first night she had moved into the house she had inherited. She said she had tried everything to drive out the evil spirit, including lighting candles, praying, and doing a few other things, but to no avail. We knew then that the house was haunted. Mom was compelled to seek assistance. Our good fortune led us to a shaman online. He declared upon arriving at the residence that a dark force had resided there for a very long time. That scared us even more, but at least I'm relieved he was able to remove whatever was inside the house. My mother has not spoken of another meeting with the evil energy after that time. To be honest, I'm relieved that it's all gone and that my mother is secure. Now that I've moved there, I can visit and spend the night there without worrying about an enraged ghost watching me. I'm no longer skeptical about haunted houses or the paranormal because I now know they exist.